best of the best. It's the one and only.
You can't handle the truth.
You are listening to Conscious Fever, hosted by Carl Price.
Sneakers on, getting ready for a flashback. Time keeps moving on, looking at you feeling like I could never get enough of you. And I could never get enough of you. I could never get enough of you.
Money all on me, I don't want them, no, get them all off me. Say down for L, she a cause, you see. 4 cars deep, we'll come through on a late night. Chicken spot, wings and fries, we call that a day night. Lights on, sold out, I don't have no stage right. Knew that I was built for this forever, ever.
You are listening to Conscious Fever, hosted by Carl Price.
We ride dance, 10 times 10, all my friends, this for real.
I ain't scared of you motherfuckers.
You are listening to Conscious Fever, hosted by Carl Price.
Either way, I don't give a damn what you think you are entitled to.
Ladies and gentlemen, the moment you've been waiting for. So listen responsibly.
It's the best of the best. It's the one and only DJ Ice, Louisville's coldest DJ.
You are listening to Conscious Fever, hosted by Carl Price.
Hey, good evening. Welcome to Conscious Fever here on Ice Entertainment Television, Conscious Fever Radio. I am Carl Price, your host. Thanks for joining me tonight. We're going to talk about our good friend. I'm not sure if I can call him our good friend, but I've got a guest tonight. His name is Paul Mullins. He's an attorney here in Louisville. Y'all are familiar with him. We're going to talk about Donald Trump today and the crimes of Donald Trump and what all this stuff means. Today, the Attorney General said, you know, a lot of times we talk about stuff that's really juicy. This is probably a little juicy. I don't know, but Mullins may tell me that it's a little juicy. Maybe tell me that it's not much juice at all. But this is serious stuff because well, for a lot of reasons, this is serious stuff. But that's what we're talking about tonight. I want to say thank you. You're joining me on Ice Entertainment Television, Conscious Fever Radio here. Got sort of a different setup. Got a lot of different things going on. So I can tell y'all if something goes wrong, it's probably because we're testing this new equipment tonight. You know, we're always testing stuff. And as we test it, we make a lot of mistakes. So if we do that, you go on. I see your comments, and I appreciate your comments. So we're going to put your comments on. I feel good. There's a lot. Let me come over here to this way here. But there's a lot going on out here tonight. Traffic, et cetera, et cetera. But anyway, I'm Carl Price. This is Conscious Fever on Ice Entertainment Television, Conscious Fever Radio, The Don. Yeah, we're talking about The Don tonight, Greg. So I'm not going to take too much time because we came on a little bit late as usual. You know, we're black folks. We just start late, you know. But in any case, so I'm not going to take too much time. Facebook, we have to advertise a Facebook note here. And as we do that, don't go nowhere. We're going to be right back. I'm going to come back. I'm going to tell you a little bit about what's going on. And then we're going to bring Paul Mullins in. And we're just going to talk about this thing. He's well educated on this. Carl Price, Conscious Fever. Be right back.
You are listening to Conscious Fever, hosted by Carl Price. And we are back with more Conscious Fever, hosted by Carl Price, Esquire.
I was just looking at this Twitter thing right here next to me. Y'all see that? Y'all got to watch us on Twitter as well. Fever_show. I'm Carl Price. This is Conscious Fever on Ice Entertainment Television, Conscious Fever Radio. I want to talk about this fella tonight. Let me see if this works. It does not, but this is what we're talking about tonight. We're talking about the Don. The Don, as somebody said. The Don. The Don might be going to jail. We don't know that for sure, but he very well might be going to jail. But before I bring my guest in.
And we are back with more Conscious Fever, hosted by Carl Price, Esquire.
They just do that to me, y'all. And so because they do that, I just got to deal with it. But anyway, listen, let's talk about the Don. And so I'm going to tell y'all just a couple of things. I'm going to talk about, just like what I just showed y'all here, I'm going to talk about this timeline here. This is something that we saw on CNN, and most of y'all know it, but I just want to educate y'all on this before we bring Paul Mullins in. But the federal criminal investigation, as you know, into the former president, number 45, Donald Trump's potential mishandling of classified documents, ramped up this week in a significant and unprecedented fashion, with the FBI executing a search warrant at Trump's home at his Mar-a-Lago resort, right? Now, the Justice Department's inquiry is about documents that Trump removed from the White House as his term was ending in January 2021. Now, earlier this year, officials from the National Archives and Records Administration, if y'all don't know this, I'm going to give you this background, known as NARA, that's the National Archives and Records Administration, recovered 15 boxes of presidential documents from Mar-a-Lago. Now, understand that what I just said was presidential documents. So that could be toilet paper that he wrote on. That could be toilet paper that he used. But presidential documents are classified under the federal statutes and all of the federal regulations as anything that is produced by a president, right? So I want y'all to keep that in mind as I talk to Mr. Mullins about this. But Trump's lawyers previously worked with NARA to voluntarily turn over some documents, but the Mar-a-Lago search clearly indicates that a new phase of the probe, right? Trump has denied all wrongdoing, and we should emphasize that, and claims, we don't know if that's true or not. You know, we get a lot of stuff from Trump that's not so true, and claims that the investigation is a politically motivated sham intended to derail his potential bid to return to the White House, which some people want him to and some people don't. But here's a timeline of the key moments from the Blockbuster investigation, the so-called Blockbuster investigation. In May of 2021, an official from the NARA contacts the Trump's team after realizing that several important documents weren't handed over before Trump left the White House. In hopes of locating the missing items, NARA lawyer Gary Stern He reaches out to someone who served in the White House counsel's office under Trump, who was the point of contact for record-keeping matters. The missing documents include some of Trump's correspondence with North Korean leader Kim Jong-un, as well as the map of Hurricane Dorian that Trump infamously altered with the Sharpie pen. Y'all remember that, right? It was a little embarrassing. In fall of 2021, the NARA grows frustrated with the slow pace of document turnover. Now understand this, y'all. This is after they started negotiating with Trump's lawyers and Trump's team, his legal team, about getting this documentation. Y'all may wonder, why is there a need for any type of negotiation? Because you do understand that all of those documents that are produced or manufactured by a president in the White House actually belongs to us, the people. But the NARA grew frustrated with the slow pace of the document turnover after several months of conversations with the Trump team. And Attorney Stern reaches out to another Trump attorney to intervene. The archivist asked about several boxes of records that were apparently taken to Mar-a-Lago during Trump's relocation to Florida. Now, the NARA still doesn't receive the White House documents they are searching for. In January 2022, after months of discussions with Trump's team, the NARA retrieves 15 boxes of Trump White House records from Mar-a-Lago. Now, the NARA says in a statement that some of the records it received at the end of Trump's administration were, quote unquote, and I quote, torn up by the former President Trump, close quote, and that White House officials had to tape them back together. Not all the torn up documents were reconstructed, NARA says. The boxes contain some materials that were part of special access programs known as SAP, which is a classification that includes protocols to significantly limit who would have access to the information. That's another way of saying classified, y'all. On February 9, 2022, news outlets, including CNN, report that NARA asked the Justice Department to investigate Trump's handling of White House records and whether he violated the Presidential Records Act and other laws related to classified information. The Presidential Records Act requires all records created by a sitting president, that is all records, to be turned over to the National Archives at the end of their administration. On February 18, 2022, the NARA informs the Justice Department that some of the documents retrieved from Mar-a-Lago included classified material. That's a problem. The NARA also tells the department that despite being warned it was illegal, Trump tore up documents while he was president.
Take my hand, we'll make it somehow. We can't miss out. I'm done living life with the lights out. Die with my own doubts. Be free with me.
What do you see? Do you see a kid from Compton? I see a bright future. I see a city where anything can happen, where legacies are built. LA is special. The star power, the ideas, the energy. Opportunity in this city could still be 1,000,000 miles away. But that never stopped us. Because we bet on ourselves. We bet on each other. And that's the power of LA. She's a city that favors the bold, the dreamers, the risk takers, the ones willing to put it all on the line. The future belongs to those who believe in something they can't see, but can feel. Anything can happen here. And whatever does, it belongs to those of us who are made in LA.
Go ahead, Paul.
Hey, Carl. So I was listening to you. I hope you get your camera up soon, but I'm also reading some of your comments here. But the thing that that needs to be established first is that um, Trump could have declassified any of the information or any of the documents potentially that he took, and he's probably going to argue that he did declassify them. The only problem is that if he did declassify them, they have to be marked as declassified. There's a whole process for that, and we'll see what the Justice Department, finds with these documents. But if he declassified them, you know, and they were in the middle of negotiation, he didn't bring that up, which is very unlikely. So, the question that you posed earlier was, is he going to jail? No, he's not going to jail. It would be crazy for us to think that he would actually go to jail from the federal government prosecution and maybe one of the state court prosecutions, um, such as the one in Georgia or the one in New York, but not the federal prosecution because um, we would start having a situation where as soon as the Republicans took over, they go through Hunter Biden or Joe Biden's background or whatever political emery there is, and they would try to make cases against people, and then we live in a country where um, this would become a regular thing, which we don't want. Ultimately, what they probably want to get out of this is for Donald Trump to agree not to run for office, which, from the Republican standpoint, they're arguing that that's the plan from the beginning. It's not really a fair argument. It's not a good argument, but that's the way I see this ending up. That he won't go to jail. He might not even be prosecuted, but he will agree not to seek any other office. It's kind of like a quasi impeachment of him. Satisfaction to me would be him actually getting prosecuted, actually not necessarily going to jail, but having a criminal record. This is not the first time he's done something criminal, as we all know. I mean, you had the scandals with Trump University, the pageant, the housing, all these things before he took office. He's declared multiple bankruptcies. He's stiffed people. I mean, as a person that you would know in your real life, personal life, he's not a good guy. Um, and he probably, to me, I've been telling people, I said, he's like Al Capone. They're never going to get him. They're going to get him on something stupid. We can
Yeah,
see now. By the way.
yeah, and I think I can move now. I don't know what happened, but in any case, so I mean, do you think that he would? First of all, what is your opinion on whether he would actually be disqualified to run for office?
Where I think he should be, or what I think he will be.
What do you think? I mean, where do you think he will be from a legal standpoint?
Obviously, I think he should be. I saw one of your viewers comment earlier that he should have been impeached 3 or 4 times already.
Go ahead, Paul.
What's up with that?
Huh?
You having some technical difficulties?
No,
Bad.
go ahead. I got you.
Well, I was saying that, yes, he should have been impeached. He should not. He should be barred from running for office. Look, we know that if you don't know this, then you've been living on the rock. If Donald Trump gets in office, he is going to fire everyone who was, politically against him. He will fire everyone in the Justice Department. He will fire everyone in the FBI. He will basically clean house all through the government. And while we look at that and say that's crazy, people on the other side say, yeah, we want that. So the question becomes, did this investigation suddenly shoot him into the stratosphere of becoming the presumptive nominee and giving him a better chance of winning? Because there are people who live to do exactly what Donald Trump would do, which is undo the government. undo the government, which is exactly what he would do. He all the people that stood firm to the Constitution, who said, I'm an American first and a Republican second, they would hold no place in his cabinet. He'd have all loyalists, and he'd be able to do what he wanted to do. And we'd have to trust that, which I don't, that Donald Trump wouldn't do anything as a fascist dictator. People don't like that, people on the left are calling him a fascist dictator, comparing him to Hitler, but there's not really anything else you can compare him to, because what he's doing is he's demanding loyalty over the law and over the country. That is the definition of a fascist state. Loyalty to one party. It's a one-party government, and unlike communism, which purports to be for the people, the party government is who you're loyal to. And that's scary, man. That's scary. If he runs for office, it's not beyond the realm that if he runs against Biden, and Biden's showing a lot of perceived weakness, that he can win. All it takes is a bunch of idiots with a pencil. And I'm saying idiots because you'd have to be an idiot and not necessarily a Republican to vote for this guy. When you can clearly, what he's going to do. He's going to take office. He's going to clean house. He's going to undo everything that's been done to him. He's going to pardon himself. He's going to pardon everybody who's even close to this scandal. And he's going to systematically attack and try to jail anyone who put him in this position. But let's try to stick on topic.
So let me just say this. So, and just as a follow up to what I was saying, so the 4 investigators, as you know, because I was talking about this before I froze, but the 4 investigators met with Trump's attorneys, looked around the basement, as you know, where the documents were being stored, and according to the reports, Trump briefly stops by the meeting to say hello to the officials. Who does that, right? Right.
So man, I'm sorry, man. I was trying to listen to you, man, but I am reading these comments.
So you want to go to Comment Central?
Oh man, Mr. Lathbrock, I need to respond. I don't want to get into an argument. He's your viewer, but I'm reading his comments, and he doesn't agree with what I say, which is fine. You don't have to agree with me, and no, you're not an idiot if you side with Donald Trump. I know I said that, but I don't mean that you're an idiot, but I do think it's idiotic not to see what Trump will do. And if people who believe that undoing the government is a good thing for the country, if you lived in another country and you knew what that was like, you wouldn't say that. For instance, Haiti had a stable government. Remember when Haiti had a stable government and then they killed the president and now they have an unstable government? They don't have basic services there because the government, without a government to control, the country and laws and keep everything in order, if your government doesn't have a stable structure, your whole country breaks down. Whether you think that's a good thing or not, it sounds good on paper, but to live in a country where your basic institutions have been eroded and destroyed. And when I say basic institutions, FBI, the same Republicans, right, Carl, who say that we believe in the police, we stand up for them, are now saying, oh, because the FBI searched his house, we need to defund the FBI. Remember when the Black Lives Matter said defund the police? Now they're saying defund the FBI. It's like people believe what they believe until something hits them in the face, right? We believe in the police. We believe in the FBI. We stand by them all the way until they come after you. And the thing that people need to realize, I know you know this, Carl, but don't blame the FBI for coming after Trump. The guy who's the head of the FBI, who's leading these investigations, was a Trump appointee. Donald Trump appointed this guy. Donald Trump appointed him. Okay? So don't try to think that he's a Democrat plant. No, these are all people who Donald Trump appointed in his first term coming back after him. because they probably know who he really is.
Okay, well let's look at some of those comments if you want. So I'm just gonna go from the top here, y'all. Okay, and that's Troy Lawrence out in the Bay Area. Okay, long intro. I'm sorry, man. Don't go to sleep on me. Let's go. Okay. Yes, sir. Now we're talking. Get him the FUC extra K out of here. Okay.
I think
Light me up. Here's an interesting one. You see, the mob takes the fifth. If you're innocent, why are you taking the Fifth Amendment? Donald Trump's 260 is so
point.
timely. He's not. He's such a.
Can I comment on that real fast?
Sure. Which one? This one? The
Donald
fifth?
Donald Trump took the Fifth. For all y'all who don't know, me and Carl are lawyers, we know this. Donald Trump took the Fifth in a civil case. That's unlike taking the Fifth in a criminal case. When you take the Fifth in a civil case, then the trier of fact or the court, they can take an inference of guilt. So if I am in a civil case and someone asks me if I ran a red light and I say, for whatever reason, I plead the Fifth, that is an admission of guilt.
Okay.
Totally unlike a criminal case where you plead the Fifth, it's not an admission of guilt and it can't be used against you.
Mm-hmm.
So that's going to be interesting how he decided to play that out. That's why Bill Clinton didn't take the Fifth in his deposition. You got to be careful taking the Fifth in a civil case because you could be admitting guilt or an inference of it.
Here we go, Paul. How is this not the Fourth Amendment impeachment of Trump?
He's only been impeached twice, and both times he was acquitted by the Senate. So the impeachment process is a two-part process. You get impeached by the House, but the Senate has to actually vote to convict. I think it's a two-thirds. Is it a two-thirds majority?
Yeah.
The Senate has to vote to convict, and he's been impeached twice, and impeachment does not mean removal for office. So he survived the removal process. But this is only the second impeachment. They tried to impeach him once while he was in office. And then unprecedented, maybe they've tried it once before, but they tried to impeach him after he took office. But very few presidents have been impeached. And I don't think anybody's been impeached twice. So we're already in the territory where he's making groundbreaking and record-breaking things in his presidency.
Here's a comment. And what gets me is the fact that they show him none of the respect or honors that comes with being a former president. They keep coming at this man as if he did something wrong besides just being Trump. Are you serious, man?
Ragnar,
I'm gonna let you comment, Paul.
Well, Ragnar, you gotta understand that if you commit a crime, people will keep coming after you, and it's not like he's doing nothing. If he was doing nothing, then they wouldn't have found 10 more boxes of classified materials, which is the subject of what we're really supposed to be talking about tonight. So the classified materials that he has, they could be innocuous, but what if they're Department of Defense properties? Okay, so what if he has, and I don't know that he does, and I hope to God he doesn't, this would be crazy, but let's just put it out there. What if Trump had some secret plans to the stealth formula, right? I mean, I don't think he does. But he could not even if he wanted to declassify something like that, I don't think he could do that. But it's interesting to note that.
So is that what Donald Trump? I'm sorry, Paul. Is that what Donald Trump is trying to? Is that his defense to try to declassify items? Does he? I mean, clearly he's not still the president.
His defense is going to be, and I don't know what his defense is because I haven't seen what documents they've taken. And me and Carl have had this discussion. And first of all, I think that I hope his documents are something serious because I would not want them to be just mementos. Even though they're classified, even though he shouldn't have done it, I don't want it to end up being a much ado about nothing. That I'm not interested in it going after former presidents or even people in office for things like that. However, the Justice Department has prosecuted people for simple documents because that's the law. And so the issue becomes, is the president above the law? Nobody can declassify a document except the president. And if he didn't want to get in trouble about the documents he was declassifying, all he had to do on January 19th was declassify everything he was taking, put a stamp on it and say, I'm declassifying. But some of the things he might have to be accounted for. Like he couldn't declassify the stealth technology and give it to the Russians. But for some reason, he either forgot, like how could he, or he
didn't
just
forget.
decided he didn't want the light shed on him of what he was declassifying. One of the things they talk about that he may have declassified is a letter from Kim Jong Un. You talked about that in your prologue, from North Korea, and there may be, and me and Carl talked about this. There may be something in those letters that he shouldn't declassify. For instance, we may look at something that says it's an innocuous document or a letter, but we have special agents all across the world whose names are kept in secrecy, who people in the other parts of the world don't know are really agents of the U.S. government. And if you have a bunch of documents and one person's name gets mentioned in it, you've blown their cover. So you can't just walk in, and to Carl's point, you can't just walk out with the people's documents as if they're yours to put them up on your wall so anybody can come in Mar-a-Lago and say, there you are with Johnny Stone. Johnny Stone has contacts in North Korea. Johnny Stone's an agent of the United States. Now, this is all conjecture. We haven't seen it, but I need this to be something more than just innocuous documents. Even though he's breaking the law, even though everyone else would be, tried and held to the same account, I don't need it to be something petty.
Right, but I mean, surely you don't believe that it's just a love letter that he wrote to Melania that they're after.
Oh no, it's 14.
I mean, just because it's a presidential document, I mean, surely the Attorney General would not go after a love letter.
No, I mean it's 10 to 15 boxes, and the Attorney General is ready to turn over what he found. They filed a motion earlier today, to disclose the warrant and the contents. I don't think they're going to disclose the affidavit because, as you know, Carl, the affidavit is not usually given to Trump as he's trying to claim, I didn't get this, It's usually not unless they file criminal charges. And if they file criminal charges, they then present you with the affidavit so that from that point you can challenge the affidavit and say there was a lack of probable cause and try to use that as a means to get everything thrown out as a fruit of the poisonous tree. That doesn't happen unless they charge you with a crime. I don't think, and me and Carl, we talked about this, I don't think the Justice Department is just going into his household as a former president without the intent of finding evidence to charge him with a crime.
I mean, does everybody need to be fired, as Ragnar says?
So Ragnar, when you say every cool name, by the way, when you say that everyone needs to
you're not making
fired,
fun of his name, are you?
No, I said it's a cool name. It has a meaning. I know what it means.
But, what does it mean? What does it mean, Paul? I mean, seriously, I don't mean to interrupt you. What does it mean? I never knew it, and I've been knowing him for 30 years.
Okay, so Ragnarok is a term that means doomsday.
Okay.
So I mean, maybe it stems from that, but so maybe he's the voice of doom, right? But anyway,
he sounds like it tonight, don't he? Sounds like the doom of dawn. But go ahead.
Okay, so what was his question again? I'm sorry.
Well, he says here in this comment, and they all need to be fired.
Right. So the question becomes, when you say they all need to be fired, would you really want someone as president to come in and basically fire every single person, or at least the top people in the FBI, or the CIA for that matter? Would you want them to take down, even in Louisville? Let's just if you're in Louisville, let's just limit it to Louisville. Would you want somebody to come in and fire every single police officer in Louisville and install people that are loyal to a mayor? I mean,
is Don the victim here?
Fire every single officer in Louisville?
Is the Don the victim here?
No, the American people are the victim. He had a simple choice: turn over the documents when requested. They did not have to serve a search warrant, and they would not have searched his home had he just complied, which is what would happen to me or you. Could you imagine, Carl, if the FBI or the Justice Department sent you a letter and said, you got some things, whether they're confidential or not, you got some things that we want and you need to turn them over? And you was like, I ain't doing it. Right. You would look just like all the other people around Trump who defied subpoenas, who defied all the orders of the January 6th committee. What happened? They got prosecuted. It's the law. You can't just say, I'm not following the law.
I mean, you do know, Paul, that when the FBI was negotiating with Trump's lawyers, there was some indication or some communication to Trump's aides to secure everything, in the basement of Mar-a-Lago where these documents were. And apparently there was a padlock put on the door that had nothing to do with securing those, but it was a padlock that was from what I'm from what I'm reading, that was designed to keep the FBI out, like a padlock would do that.
I mean, yeah, bolt cutters.
You said what?
They just take some bolt cutters to them, cut it right off.
Right, cut them right off. How can black folks honestly be pulling for the current government structure? Ragnar says.
So, if you're not pulling for the current government structure, that's fine, but you got to figure out a way to replace it, because you can't have a country without government structure. If you think black people are going to, if the government fell apart, if you believe that the power of the people would protect black people over any government restraint, you're not thinking ahead, because we had limited government and we had to enact civil rights laws. Okay? If it weren't for the federal government, we wouldn't have civil rights. If we left it to the states to make their own rules, what are they doing? They're taking away abortion rights. They'll be taking away gay marriage next. What makes you think you're safe as a black person without a government intervention? I mean, seriously, Ragnar, if you can respond to that in the text, what makes you think that you would be safe from the government as a black person if government was abolished and we relied on everyone's state law? I tell you what would happen. We'd all move to Atlanta. We'd all move to the big cities, because that's about the only place where black people will feel protected.
Here's one here, Paul, and I want you to comment on this. He says, damn, so we idiots now because we don't just believe what the Democrats say. Is that what this is all about?
No, it's not about what the Democrats say, man. I cannot reiterate this enough when I talk to people. The Democrats didn't say it. Carl, you watched the January 6th committee. Who testified?
All Republicans.
All Republicans. That's
Right.
the part I don't get. This is not a Democrat scandal. It was all Republicans who testified against Trump. Not just all Republicans who testified against Trump, but Trump's inner circle, his people. It's like Al Capone going down because all of his top dogs are testifying against him, and somebody saying, "Oh, the police set him up." No, this is Trump's top people taking him down, because his top people said, quite simply, they would rather have a country than him. And I need you to, I need Ragnar. I know you got issues with civil rights and black people, but this is not a civil rights or black people issue. This is the president above the law.
He says 2 impeachments, January 6th trial, and now this. That equals 4 times they're going after Donald Trump. But you believe it's justified for them to go after Donald Trump because Donald Trump has done some things that no other president has done.
Well, I mean, it's like saying if you got a drug dealer who is caught selling dope on the corner and then caught with a kilo and then driving in the car with some more drugs, are you saying the police are going after him? Because that's what people want to think, but that's not always the case. I mean, sometimes people are out there doing stuff they shouldn't be doing. And in this case, you have the president of the United States standing in front of a crowd of people and saying, "Fight like hell, take your country back." And within 30 minutes, they were fighting like hell, trying to destroy the Capitol building.
Let's look at Karen's comment. I do not understand why they waited almost 2 years to do this, and surely he's not dumb enough to keep items at his house. Apparently he is.
He is dumb enough. They found items at his house. He gave stuff back for the first time about 3 months ago. It's hard sometimes to keep up with news. You almost have to be a news junkie. But and I'm not saying you have to listen to CNN or Fox or any particular station, but you have to get news, because some people like to just imagine, based off very little evidence, what the truth is. And people need to go out and figure out exactly what's going on, because that's the only way a democracy works, is when people are informed. Because anybody can stand up in front of you and tell you, this is what happened, vote for me, don't believe anybody else. Who did that, Carl? Who did that?
Number 45 did that. Here's another Ragnar comment. He says, so the Clintons walk away clean, right? Is this about the Clintons?
The Clintons did not walk away clean. Bill Clinton was impeached, just like Donald Trump. Bill Clinton lied under oath and he was impeached. They did not remove him, but he did not get away clean. He was impeached. Donald Trump was impeached for what he did, but he was not removed. People should not be saying the Clintons got away free. There was an allegation that Hillary Clinton had left with classified documents, but she did what Donald Trump did not do. She returned stuff. So I mean, you can't just throw out allegations, but there are facts behind these things. He did something. They didn't do Hillary like that. Oh man, Ragnar, all you gotta do is Google it and read as many articles as you can. They did do Hillary like that. They tried to say she walked out with classified documents. In fact, do you not remember the emails that they said that she destroyed, that they, tried to take her down with? She was never prosecuted because the Department of Justice under Trump determined that she didn't do anything wrong.
So how does this compare to Hillary Clinton's emails? I mean, we're talking about boxes and boxes of what appears to be classified information, definitely presidential documents that are at a residence.
So Hillary Clinton's emails were allegedly, every email she sent was government product. You work for the government, you send an email, it doesn't belong to you, it belongs to the government. So she didn't have the right to destroy them or delete them. But there was an investigation, despite what Ragnar says, that they didn't do Hillary like her. There absolutely was an investigation. All the Republicans said, and I quote, lock her up. Does anybody remember that? Because it wasn't that long ago. That was the chant. Lock her up. Lock her up. Lock her up. But guess what? They did an investigation on her, and she didn't get locked up.
All right.
So you can't say they didn't do her like that. They absolutely did her like that, which absolutely destroyed her chance of being president.
Sounds like he's got all the talking points. I saw Ragnar, that is. I see this one here. It says this came 90 days before the midterms. We heard that before on Fox News, right? On the Fox News channel. Why is that even relevant if you have a president that's actually doing something illegal?
Right. It doesn't matter when you commit the crime. If you commit a crime and it comes 90 days before the midterms, if it comes after the midterms, if you do something that's illegal, it's illegal. He could have avoided this particular search warrant if he had just done what they asked him to do. Now, his defense, we talked about this earlier, is going to be, I declassified the information, but you cannot declassify information once you've left office. And if he didn't declassify the information before he left office, he's in trouble.
What about Hunter Biden?
That's okay. So that is a Russian tactic, believe it or not, where when someone's losing an argument, you switch the argument by saying, what about this? What about that? This has nothing to do with Hunter Biden. Hunter Biden, I can't even discuss it. It has. What about Hunter Biden? You want an investigation on him? Ragnar, are you trolling us?
So now we're not allowed to have locked doors in our homes before. Come on, Ragnar. When the FBI tells you that they're coming, you can't lock anything away, my friend. You know that, and I know that.
They did something. You spoke earlier, and I don't want to focus just on his comments because I feel like I'm being trolled. Okay, so, but to get to this one last point. Donald Trump had an hour's notice that they were coming with this search warrant. Okay.
How about a couple of months? They've been talking about it since May.
But before they were actually going to execute it, after they got it signed, they waited an hour and gave an hour's notice. Okay. So if you think about that, how many times have you heard in Louisville where people had an hour's notice before a search warrant was coming?
Right.
It don't happen. So to say that he didn't get presidential, he absolutely got presidential respect. They could have got a search warrant 3 months ago or whenever and not even tried to negotiate with him. They could have said, we ain't negotiating. You got the stuff. We come to get it. So he got his presidential respect. Don't let them try to spin this into something that makes it look like because he's president, nothing can happen to him. Because if we have a situation where a president cannot be held accountable for anything, he becomes a king. And if that's what you want, Ragnar, fine. But we're not getting kings in this country.
Now, he says, do you mean the People's House? I think he's referring to a comment that you made earlier. But don't we mean the people's documents as well, right?
Right. Let's move on to somebody else's comment, man. I think Ragnar's trolling us, honestly.
It says the disrespect of a president is insane.
No, the president has to earn respect when he has to respect the office.
Ragnar,
Again,
are you serious right now? Now he's back on Hillary. She deleted these emails. Come on, good sir. But Ragnar, how do you compare her deleting emails to him taking presidential documents out of the White House that belongs to the people? Now he says they did not raid her house. They didn't raid his. They didn't.
in order to raid, tell them the process to raid somebody's house. In order to raid somebody's house, you have to have a warrant signed by a judge who reads an affidavit and determines that there's probable cause. If you think for a minute that people didn't say, "Hey, this is Mar-a-Lago. Hey, this is the president. Let's take a little bit of extra precaution here," Ragnar, I don't know what to tell you, but
here's a big comment. Go ahead, Paul. Draw attention to yourself by creating an unforgettable, even controversial image. Court scandal. Do anything to make yourself seem larger than life and shine more brightly than those around you. Robert Greene. Trump knew this would happen. What are your thoughts on that, Paul?
Of course he knew it was going to happen because he knew that he had the doc. I don't understand people. I don't understand why we should just use some common sense, people. If you are the subject of a federal investigation and they tell you to turn over some documents or we're going to do something, then you too can foresee that you might get your house raided. It doesn't take a lot of common sense to know that if they are investigating, it's like if you got a letter from the IRS and they said, "We don't think these documents are accurate. Can you please refile your taxes and amend them?" And you say, "I'm not going to amend them." And they say, "We'll give you 30 days to amend them." And then you say, "No, I'm not going to amend them." And then they audit you. You don't have to be a genius or Nostradamus to say, "Oh, I saw that they were going to audit me. I knew they were going to audit me." Of course you did. That's common sense. They are talking to you about returning documents and you are refusing. So to say, "Oh, they're going to raid my house anytime. Just watch. They're going to come after me." Yeah, because you're setting it up. I don't even like discussing this because it infuriates me how sometimes, and I'm going to call you out, Ragnar, you're not using your common sense. And I'm not trying to pick an argument with you, man, but you're a Trump supporter and that's fine. But don't be blind to support anybody because lemmings run off the side of a cliff. That was the old fable. They run off the side of a cliff following somebody. You can't follow somebody to the end no matter what without using your own common sense and saying, "What if I was in this situation? What would happen?" What would happen if you were in this situation, Ragnar, and the federal government came to you and said, "You've got some court documents that we know you took from court. You need to return them." And you said no. What do you think would happen to you? Everybody knows what would happen to you. They'd issue a warrant and come to your house and get them. It's not really.
Yeah, but they didn't do that for Donald Trump. And I think that's them giving him the benefit of the doubt because he is 45.
Right. They gave him an hour's notice and 2 months notice. So they tried to negotiate. The federal government is negotiating with you about doing something that you're lawfully bound to do anyway. Think about that. Don't sit here and tell me he didn't get no special consideration. They would not have done that for us. There are many, many, many other people who got arrested for leaving with 1 or 2 documents in jail.
Right.
Look it up. I can't tell you how it's like getting caught with crack cocaine and it's in your pocket. You don't really have a defense.
The Lionsgate portal,
somebody else
Paul.
put it in your pocket.
The Lionsgate portal. Did you see that comment? The Lionsgate portal, 8882, said Trump gave hints that this would happen at rallies and on magazines.
That's the one I just responded to. That's not Nostradamus. That is.
He is in on it. The documents will show nothing, just like their Russia claims.
He is in on it. Maybe. I mean, he could be doing this to make a scandal out of nothing. He could be holding on to documents that don't mean anything.
Look at this comment, Paul. And maybe you can answer this question. He says, Price Mullins, is this really where we are as a country? Is comments coming like in like tonight that terrify me. Let me go back. Come bring that back, please. For the future, how can anyone support Trump? Is Biden perfect? No. What happened to we the people? Trump took documents he shouldn't have, that he shouldn't have touched. Wake up, America. Is he on point?
He is, but here's the problem. Douglas. We live in two worlds. We live in two worlds where some people see it red and some people see it blue. And once you put yourself in a camp, it's like supporting U of L basketball. No matter how good UK basketball is, you're never going to acknowledge it. And we need to get out of that sad decay. It's if we can get out of that to where people believe country first, which was Trump's mantra, right? If we can get into that where people truly believe in country first, we'll be a better country and we'll pick better candidates. But right now, the country's so toxic that the good people of the country will not run for office. I mean, I feel like I'm a good person. I feel like I got a clean background. I feel like, I'm an honest Abe. I wouldn't run for office at that level. People tear you down over nothing because we're all in tribal camps. And it doesn't matter.
Larger than life and court scandal. That is one of the laws of power, according to Robert Greene. Here's some comments. Let me go back to these comments, Paul, and I'm gonna keep you on the screen as we do it. He didn't say no. They said they thought he was lying about more stuff. Then spent 12 hours at his house when they knew where the documents were. When the FBI or any law enforcement is executing a search warrant, 12 hours is really not a long time, right?
Right. Number one, they would do that on your house, Ragnar. They would do that they didn't do anything different. They tried to say, well, they went through Melania's clothes. It's a search warrant. You get to search the whole house. And that's what they do. They do that to your house. They do that to my house. Why wouldn't they do it to his house? Have you seen his estate? They probably gave a light search 12 hours in that big place. Come on. I mean, Ragnar, you were in a camp, and I get it. And there's not going to be anything anybody can do to change your mind. But you said he didn't say no. They thought he was lying about more stuff. They spent 12 hours. Here's the thing. They had confidential informants in his house. So it's not like they didn't see stuff that was going on. They had CIs in his house, man. If you've ever had any interaction or know of anybody who had any interaction with the feds, as we call it in criminal law, they are not just willy-nilly police officers like you see on TV who just do things, like cowboys. They're by-the-book people. And for Trump to sit here and say that they planted evidence, I mean, they took that personal. Don't you think so, Carl?
Yeah, I do. And, of course, we know today that after 3 days of silence, the Attorney General, Merrick Garland, right, he made a brief public statement today about the investigation. And he revealed that he personally approved. He's the one that approved the decision to seek a search warrant. And I think we all knew that because no low-level people in the Justice Department is going to be doing that. And but the Attorney General also pushes back against what he called, quote unquote, unfounded attacks on the professionalism of the FBI and Justice Department. Go ahead. Because he also announced today that the Justice Department will also ask a judge to unseal some of the search warrant documents for the sake of transparency. And
he only did this because of what Trump said.
Right.
See, so here's the thing. Here's the thing that people don't understand. And then Ms. Pruitt is right. Trump is he's taking air out of the room to focus attention on him to make him look like a victim. Okay, so Trump gets on TV. He says, I've never seen it. Well, that's a simple phone call to your lawyer because your lawyers have seen it. You see how stupid that is? It would be like my lawyer being at the residence, getting the search warrant, and then me saying, well, they never showed it to me. Oh, this is a scandal. I've never seen it. They should have showed it to me. Well, your lawyer has it. And then he says, well, I can't believe they searched. I wonder what's in it. Well, guess what? Either call your lawyer and have him release it to the public, but don't blame Merrick Garland because he's not supposed to release it.
Right, but how about all of the Trump supporters and a lot of his attorneys? And I want you to explain this, Paul, because this is really a joke, but people don't know this. But they've been pressing the Attorney General to explain the basis for the search warrant federal agents had executed at Mar-a-Lago's residence.
They want him to explain the search warrant. He doesn't have
Right.
to.
And he
The
doesn't
search
have
warrant
to.
itself-
But let's point this out, Paul. When law enforcement executes a search warrant, they leave a copy with either
Okay,
you or your
I can't-
attorney, right?
Okay, I'm sorry. I can't deal with Ragnar anymore. He's now saying that they shouldn't have gone into his home. He doesn't understand what a search warrant is. So at this point, he's trolling us, man. I can't. I can't deal with it. He's a Trump supporter, and he's a conspiracy theorist. And when you deal with conspiracy theorists, there's no answer they can't give. So no matter what answer we give, I can tell him why they got a search warrant. He'll move on to the next topic as to why they should have never got a search warrant.
It
And then when you
wasn't
tell him
his
why-
lawyer's home.
we'll
They
move on to the
shouldn't
next
have.
topic.
They shouldn't have went into his home while he was not there. But
Right.
that's what they do with
You can't
search
serve-
warrants.
Right, because you can't serve a search warrant when people aren't home. I can't do it, Carl. I can't. I'm not going to respond to his. I'm not going to respond to his comments anymore. As if you had that protection, Ragnar. You tell me that you could be in Las Vegas and the police officers would search your home with a search warrant, and you're saying you can go to court and say, "Well, I wasn't there." I can't do it anymore, Carl. He's trolling us, man.
Right.
I mean, I don't
With-
want to sound like I'm a lawyer and I know more than him, but this
right. Right.
is not a lawyer issue. This is common sense. You know, search warrants get used while people aren't home. You know, people's homes get raided while they're not home. But I mean, he's coming up. He's grasping for any defense he can. I would like him to look in the mirror and ask himself, why does he support Trump, despite all the scandals, despite the current evidence that he may have committed a crime, despite the evidence overwhelming from the January 6th committee that he was at the heart of the incitement of the January 6th riots.
Right. But Paul, before I get to some more comments, let me ask you this: is it your opinion that Trump's lawyers and all this pressure to release the details of the search warrant, which, by the way, will be redacted with classified federal information that's upon it, are they treading on dangerous waters doing this? Are they taking a chance that there is something in there so damning that it may backfire on them?
How so damning that it might backfire?
Well, you know, I mean, listen, nobody really knows, because a lot of what the feds do, and when you have search warrants under seal, a lot of that stuff is secret. So what I'm suggesting is that, and I'll just say it, in my opinion, I think they're treading on very, very dangerous waters, right? Because there may be
I mean, if the
something in
search
there
warrant's
that
weak.
Well, and the search warrant may be strong,
Right.
right? It
And
may be
we won't-
very
we won't
strong.
know that.
Go ahead.
We won't know that. We won't know that unless they charge him with a crime. If they don't charge him with a crime, what's in the search warrant may never get released. And so I'm looking at Ms. Pruitt, and she says Trump is a genius. He has us all talking about him. He's courting scandal. Both sides, Dems and Republicans. He is larger than life. Freaking love it. Y'all know I love an alpha male. So, you know, you got to be careful because Hitler was an alpha male. And I know people say, well, you can't compare him to Hitler. No, if you go back and you look at the history of Germany in 1933 and how Hitler came to power, Hitler was elected, right? People forget that. Hitler was elected. So what Trump could do is forms his own third party, right? And if he forms a third party and he's got a 40% base, he could win, right? So that's exactly what Hitler did. Hitler formed his third party, the Nazi Party. He won 38% of the vote, and he won the election. He was literally elected. But was he elected by the people of Germany? No, he was elected by people who wanted to be in that party, the Nazi Party, and the people he scammed. So you know, if you're okay with a tyrant, if you're okay with a bully, if you're okay with a pussy grabber, if you're okay with someone who says, damn the law, I'm the president, I don't have an issue with it. Great. Yeah, we got some trolls on here.
You said what?
We got some trolls on here.
Why do you call it? You know, I think that
I don't have an issue with Hitler.
No, she says she doesn't have an issue with Hitler. And
I mean,
Ragnar
that
says
is somebody,
Hitler
that is
thought
somebody who doesn't. That is somebody who doesn't know what Hitler stood for, who doesn't even know the history. I mean, it doesn't take much to YouTube or read or find out facts that happened in life. And if you don't have a issue with Hitler and you get canceled because you made an innocuous comment because you thought it was funny, that's your own damn fault. Because you obviously don't know what Hitler stood for.
You know, Trump didn't put us in concentration camps. I agree with you, Ragnar, but he did defund the Civil Rights Division in the Justice Department when he was president. And
he's the same guy who said let's have immigrants. We want immigrants from Scandinavian countries. Did you know that Scandinavian countries, some of them are some of the only countries in the world that don't have black people at all? Remember when I looked that article up for you, Carl, and we were surprised?
Yeah, you looked it up. I saw that.
Surprised. Scandinavian and Russian countries, they got some countries that don't have black people at all.
Right. Interesting discussion tonight. Very, very interesting discussion with Paul Mullins and, of course, some people that he referred to as trolls. I'm not sure if that's
I don't mean trolls as in their looks or anything.
But
I don't mean trolls as in looks. I don't mean to put people down, but I'm saying trolling like you just want to get a rise out of us. I don't necessarily know that I believe that you think Hitler is okay. I don't necessarily know if I believe you when you say they shouldn't be searching his home anyway.
He met with Ice Cube about the contract for Black America. Only problem with that, Ragnar, is Ice Cube doesn't represent me, man. No, I mean, anybody. Let me just say this: anybody such as Trump who would think that it's okay to take accolades and bring the media because you're meeting with Ice Cube. I don't want Ice Cube talking for me. I mean, hell, I love Law and Order. Ice Cube talked about killing the police.
Right, and at the same time, Carl, Trump's also the guy who said, "Oh, there's my black voter." In the crowd. Remember that time when he had one black person there's my black voter. I mean, in your personal life, if someone said, "Oh, I have a friend, I have a one black friend," you get offended. But you don't get offended because Trump said it because you're caught up in he also met with Kanye West. All right.
Yeah, Kanye West doesn't represent, but yeah, but I get your point, Doug, because he also met with Kanye West and had the media there as if he was meeting with Martin Luther King. The problem is black people are more than just rappers. We're
right.
Much more than rappers.
And what the problem is this, Carl, is you see
hold on a second, Paul. I hold that thought. Ragnar, let me just say this. He says, who else is having that conversation, though?
What?
It doesn't. We don't want to have the conversation. We don't want Ice Cube having the conversation for us. We don't want Kanye West having the conversation for us. The problem is with Donald Trump, and I'm going to say this to you, Ragnar, is that he chose to have that conversation with black folks who are not very intelligent. Have the conversation with, the Harvard graduates that are black. Have a conversation with those that can really talk about meaningful change in the black community if you're president, if there's something that you really want to do.
We got some civil rights activists right here in this city at U of L. We got professors at U of L who are known nationally. I would rather him talk to the people at U of L in your own city than Ice Cube. Ice Cube represents, it's like a president going to Hollywood and talking to, give me somebody, Ryan Reynolds, and saying Ryan Reynolds speaks for white America. Come on, man. Come on.
No, we got that, Doug. We got that.
Yeah, we understood you.
And we completely understood you.
Yeah. Kanye West doesn't represent me either.
So it doesn't represent any of us.
I mean, Ice Cube is not. I don't consider Ice Cube a political activist or a political leader.
So we don't want to have a conversation about a contract with Black America. We do want to have that conversation, but here's the thing. I'm gonna go a little bit deep with you, Ragnar. What is Black America today? Right. One of the problems that I had with Donald Trump is that he thought he did all of us a great favor by releasing criminals, convicted persons early. Now, I don't have a problem with that for some of those who were there because of the drug issues in the 90s, but I have a problem with releasing the dangerous ones, and I have a problem with you thinking anybody thinking, and Donald Trump thinking, well, I'm going to get the black vote now because I released a lot of criminals and a lot of them.
What he's doing is he's
meet
identifying
that
black
criteria.
people with prisoners. He's
Right.
identifying black people with convicted felons and entertainment.
We know why Biden.
where's-
We know why Biden
where's
met with
the-
Cardi B. Biden's a pimp. Y'all just don't know it. We know why Biden met with
But even
met
meeting
with
with Cardi B, nobody's holding out Biden to be some great black activist because he met with Cardi B either. Only people who are listening to Trump is holding that out as being great black activism. What I'm telling you, Ragnar, is that if he wanted to do something substantial, why not meet? Why doesn't Trump meet with black business leaders and talk about how the top 20 billionaires in the world are all white and try to figure out how to get some black billionaires? He's a
Well,
billionaire.
one is Asian. Number 17 is Asian.
Right. And then
And there's an
Muslim.
Arab
Right.
that's number 20. But check this out from a Dr. Pruitt.
We don't know what the books told us about Hitler and other historical characters just because the books told us something. Right. So, Dr. Pruitt, at this point, why believe anything? Why believe anything, Doctor? Where are you getting your information?
Connor's excited. He says, please
I mean,
stop. He
where are
says,
you getting?
Doctor, I'm done. Please stop. Wow.
Yeah, well,
Comparing Trump to Hitler seems like a stretch, she says. Is it a stretch, Paul?
it's a stretch to say that he is going to start World War III. It's a stretch to say that he's going to put people in concentration camps, but it's not a stretch when you talk about how he's trying to take power, not by a legal means, but by a coup. And for people who don't see that he attempted a coup, they're never going to believe it, but it's absolutely true. What he did was he tried to get one person to decide an election for a nation of 350 million people. He told you that Mike Pence could single-handedly deliver him the election. And if you believe that, then you cannot believe in democracy or America, because nowhere would anybody ever think that if you're vice president, you can just declare the election process null and void and elect president. Why didn't Al Gore do it? Why didn't Hillary Clinton do it? Why haven't any vice presidents just said, screw the electoral process, I can read, I got the power to count, and I'm not counting those? It
He
was
met
bullshit.
with HBCU presidents, he said.
Huh?
He said, Ragnar said, he met with HBCU presidents, but he didn't give him any money, Ragnar. That's the problem.
I'm not gonna sit here and equivocate meeting with people as doing something for black people. I'm not. Trump could have done stuff for black people. My beef with Trump has not been about his policies that I disliked. He's president. The Republicans have office. They're entitled to go for the policies that they choose to advocate for. I don't like when you do things that are illegal, like steal an election, like threaten another country to support you or make your political opponent look bad, or you're going to withhold aid, like taking an ally who was in the Middle East, was our only backbone to the Middle East, and basically saying, screw you, I'm going to let Turkey come in and annihilate your country, or you're not even your country, but your group of people, because Putin wants me to do it. I mean, these are things that he has done that I have watched closely, that I have come into work and told Carl I'm furious. And people who don't read, who don't look for news, who just decide I'm going to wake up one day and this is how I feel the world is don't know these things. And some of the things that Obama did, Republicans didn't like. And I get that on a policy, but you cannot do things that destroy the country to the point to where you won't have a country in 20 years. You see, and I've told this story before, democracy is new to the world. America formed democracy, as we all know, in 1776. How long has the world been civilized? Since 4000 BC? Democracy is new, and we got to protect it, or else we will be living under another king, King George from England. Remember him? That's who the revolution was fought from. We had to get away from kings. We formed a democracy. And we all grew up thinking that democracy was great. If you don't believe democracy is great, fine. You don't believe in America and what it was founded for. You want a revolution. You want to install a king. That's fine. But that's not what this country is going to stand for.
Here you go, Paul.
Huh?
Here you go. Bryce Mullins, can you please run? You all would make an incredible ticket.
Again, good people don't run for office.
Listen, but the Attorney General gave a press conference today, and of course, but here are the 3 takeaways, Paul. He personally signed off on the search warrant, right? On the search. The Justice Department officials have been exceedingly tight-lipped since Monday when the FBI agents entered Donald Trump's inner sanctum to emerge with boxes of sensitive documents the former president had taken with him to Florida. And they were particularly loath to discuss Mr. Garland's role, whether he had approved the search or even if he knew prosecutors with his National Security Division had made the extraordinary request to sift through the personal property of an ex-president. That silence today, of course, and that silence for the last week, fueled speculation that Mr. Garland was somehow out of the decider's loop, or that he wanted people outside the department to think the process was somehow an autopilot to provide himself with political cover. And of course, not so, right? Right. Let me just get through some more comments and then we can get out of here. Here's your buddy Ragnar. This guy is hilarious. We don't have a country now. We are not free. We are all victims of this government.
We don't have a country now. I don't understand that.
I don't understand that. Trump allocated $100 million HBUs. It is called the Futures Act. Yeah, that's an allegation. I mean, that's an allocation. That's an allocation, Dr. Pruitt. I don't think they've seen that money yet.
And I'm not going to sit here and say I disagree with every single thing Trump has done. I'm saying that people have to be accountable, and you can't look at somebody. It's like saying this guy beats me every day, but he gives me money. You got to look at, he gives me tons of money. If you're in a relationship where your boyfriend beats you, but he supports you, you can dislike some of the things he does, and you can like some of the things he does. And I'm telling you right now, his bad is outweighing his good, because he will destroy our basic institutions. And I know that people don't think that's a big deal.
It is a big deal. It is a big deal.
Tell them what our basic institutions are. FBI, CIA, State Department. State Department is in charge of our relationships with other countries. You've got, national security. If you take away the institutions that protect the country, your country can erode from within. We don't have to be attacked by Russia. We don't have to be attacked by Al Qaeda. We will be defended. What happened to, we were talking about democracy earlier, okay? There was a democracy before the United States. Now, you'd be hard pressed. You think, oh, well, Germany's had a democracy. Oh, they didn't have democracies. They had kings. They had, before that, there was feudalism, more kings, rulers, dukes, princes. You didn't have a democracy, okay? The democracy before America, you would, at least in the Western civilization, I don't know much about China or the Eastern civilizations. You got to go back to Rome. But guess what happened to Rome in 44 BC, Carl? Rome was a democracy. Rome was a democracy until 44 BC. Does anybody remember what happened in 44 BC?
Well, you're going way back.
Julius Caesar ended democracy. Democracy did not come back for 2,000 years. Okay, 1700 years.
Giving us a history. That. Yeah, you're giving us a history lesson there, Paul. But listen, but here's just in talking about the takeaways from what the Attorney General said today. The interesting thing is that one of the most important things he said was that the Justice Department had moved to unseal the search warrant, right? And I say that could be dangerous for Donald Trump. And especially when you listen to the Attorney General's comment in his news conference earlier, where he said the ball is in Mr. Trump's court because Mr. Trump and his attorneys can object and fight the release or the unsealment of their search warrant. Well, they haven't yet. And don't be surprised if they do that. And if they do that, then we all know that this was just a big circus, right?
Right. You know, something's juicy.
Right.
And so we'll see. And so again, I can't, I know I'm only talking to two people. I wish this podcast would go out to more, but people got to understand that democracy is our everybody. Ronald Reagan, I'm not a Republican, but Ronald Reagan said some things that people still repeat to this day. He said, democracy is precious, and other countries look at us like we're a light on the shining light on the hill. People have heard that phrase, but what he's referring to is other countries follow our lead when it comes to democracy because they think that we are the leader of, you know, not just the world, but in a smaller sense, we're the leaders in the room.
Absolutely.
So you've got all these people who are budding democracies. They want to be like us. Okay. Russia tried it and they ended it.
Right.
Okay. And
Here
so,
you go, Paul. Here's your comment before we have to start the process of getting out of here. But both the FBI and the CIA are unlawful corporate entities that must be dismantled. Even the Pope, who controls those entities, said that they must come down via his letter, Multi Proprio, to Obama in 2012. Hold on, bring that back, please. Hold on. I know you're tired of this, Paul. They will be dismantled and will have something constitutionally lawful.
Okay, fine. I'll bite. Dr. Pruitt. What do you think will be constitutionally and lawful in place? Seriously, what do you think will be put in place? Do you think that having a police force who's loyal to a dictator or wannabe dictator or any president, rather than loyal to the people they serve, is more protection? I mean, if you think they are unlawful people, that's fine. Everybody's entitled to their own opinion. But you're not entitled to the facts, and you got to show how the FBI is unlawful. If you are telling me that the FBI, like in the case that's local, the Breonna Taylor case, that they did something illegal on the warrants, I'm going to agree with you. That's an unlawful process. But that hasn't been shown, and you can't say something's unlawful just because you disagree with it. You can't say that an election was rigged just because you disagree with it. You can't say that they must have stolen this from me just because you don't believe what the results are. That's not factual. That is people judging with their feelings or deciding things with their feelings. And we can all do that. We can all do that. We can all just sit here in a room on this Zoom and decide, you know what? The moon isn't really 250 million miles away. It's really just a marble in the sky that's, created by laser lights. We can all decide that nobody really touched the moon. That's all fake. We can all sit here and decide that, Lincoln wasn't really shot. He's alive in some small island somewhere hiding out. And we all know that Tupac's still alive. Him and Biggie are down in Jamaica, right? We can all just decide that. We don't need facts. We don't need proof. We can all just sit in a room and just decide whatever we want to, because that's what's going on. When you say things like they are unlawful, we're not free, we're all victims of the government, you're basically just sitting in a room deciding stuff on your own. Unless you can show people where you're getting this information, you're just making it up. And Trump did the same thing, only he did it on a national scale. He said the election in Georgia was rigged. But the Republicans who were in control of the elections in Georgia said, no, Mr. President, it wasn't. Oh, well, you're no longer a Republican. You're a rhino because you didn't do what I said. Again, we can all sit around and create facts, but that's not what we're supposed to do. We're supposed to rely on truth.
Right.
And if
truth.
We won't have a democracy anyway. If people can sit around and make up stuff and say it's true, whether it's true or not, we ain't going to have a democracy anyway.
He said Elvis is still alive too.
Exactly. There you go. I'm sure you believe it.
I think it's a slippery slope for them to do that. But we'll see. I think, if I'm not mistaken, the documentation I read says that the judge has given Trump's lawyers 3 days to object or not object to the release of it. Exactly, Mullins. Everything is fake news. That's what these people think. Ridiculous. I just need you to find me 11,000 votes. Give me a break.
Right.
Right.
Why would they have to find Ragnar, Dr. Pruitt? Why would they have to find 11,000 votes if he got 11,000 votes? That statement in and of itself is probably the one thing that's going to get him convicted, because that shows his intent. I don't care what the vote really was. Just find them for me. Just find them. Just say that the election was rigged, and I'll get people in Congress to back me up. I don't need the truth. I just need you to say this so that I can go to my people on the Hill, and all the Republicans will back me up. That's what he said. He's telling you right to your face that it's a lie and that he's going to make it look like it's true. And he's caught on a phone call in the middle of it, and people still don't believe it's true. You heard his voice. Basically, Trump said, I can shoot somebody in, what is it?
In the middle of Fifth Avenue.
In the middle of Fifth Avenue.
And nobody would charge him.
My fans, friends, and relatives, and my sycophants wouldn't care. He's right. He's got Ragnar. He's got Dr. Pruitt.
That's interesting to say. Anyway, we are way out of time here. This is Conscious Fever on Ice Entertainment Television, Conscious Fever Radio. Paul Mullins, as always, my friend, I want to thank you for coming in. I think you gave them all a mouthful. Ragnar, and he wouldn't lose a single vote. Yep, here we go, Ragnar, one more time. But why are we still on Trump? He's not been the president for almost 2 years.
Because he's still committing crimes?
Yeah.
There it is.
That's probably why, Ragnar. I mean, if we just had to keep it real. But anyway, Paul Mullins, thank you so much for joining me tonight. Here we go. Now the comments. Every time it's almost time.
So Dr. Pruitt, you said Carl could do anything and I'd still support him too. Carl, I'm gonna impugn your reputation. This is not true. You would support Carl, and I've known Carl since I was 20-something years old. But if Carl was a pedophile, I ain't supporting him.
Whoa!
I'm just saying.
Any other example that you have in your bag to use but that?
Okay, if Carl robbed a bank and tried to lie about it, and I knew he was lying. I mean, you can't support people to the end. That's fascism. That's what Hail Hitler. That man, we support you no matter what. Hail Hitler. You're killing Jews. Hail Hitler. You're bombing other countries. Hail Hitler. That's fascism.
Wow.
Support to the end is fascism.
The prayer that we say at night is now lay me down to sleep. I prayed the Lord my soul to keep. Paul Mullins, I want to say thank you for staying up late with us tonight here on Conscious Fever, on Ice Entertainment Television, Conscious Fever Radio, and everybody who stayed up for us. There you go, Paul. If Carl robbed a bank, I say those fools are lying. If Carl robbed the bank, I'm driving the getaway car. Okay, there we go. Now we're all going to get indicted, right? Just because of this show and just because of what y'all said. But anyway, Paul, I want to say thank you for joining me tonight. As I was about to say, what was I about to say? I was about to say that now lay me down to sleep. I prayed the Lord my soul to keep. Or I have the bail. Okay, here we go. They're just going at it, right, Paul? I have the bail money. They're going to get me indicted federally, right? Thank you, Douglas Connor. Mr. Paul Mullins, you want to say thank you to Mr. Connor. He's been very accurate. Thank you, Mr. Price. Right. What did you say, Paul?
He's been our biggest supporter here. So I saw Anita Chandler. Anita Chandler. We had a few supporters, but the loudest voices were the Trumpsters.
Well, the Trump people. But anyway, Paul, before I let you go, I am going to... I'm going to do something that I'm required to do here, and that is... That means that it's time for me to go. I've got to get out of here. Everything that I am supposed to look at is gone. But anyway, this has been Conscious Fever here on Ice Entertainment Television and Conscious Fever Radio. I am Carl Price, your host. Thank you, Paul Mullins, for joining me tonight. I will see you next week.
You are listening to Conscious Fever, hosted by Carl Price.
Goodbye.
I lay me down to sleep. I pray the Lord that I wake again. I wake again. I pray the Lord that I wake. Now I lay me down to sleep. I pray the Lord that I wake again. I wake again. I pray the Lord that I wake.
You are listening to Conscious Fever, hosted by Carl Price on 97thebetfm.com.
I was born by the river in a little tent. Like the river I've been running ever since. It's been a long time coming, but I know a change gonna come. Oh yes it will. It's been too hard living, but I'm afraid to die, 'cause I don't know what's up there beyond the sky. It's been a long time coming, but I know a change gonna come. Oh yes it is. Then I go to my brother. And I say, brother, help me please. But he wind up knocking back down on the knee. Oh, there've been times that I thought I couldn't last for long. I'm able, Father, to carry on. And it's been a long time coming, but I know change gonna come. Oh, yes it is, yes it is, yes it is. Said I know that a change is gonna come one day.
I know I changed